Picture this. It's 2017, and thousands of people are buying tickets for what sounds like the most exclusive, incredible music festival ever. They're being promised these amazing private villas. They're told they'll be hanging out with the world's biggest models on a gorgeous private island, and there'll be yachts, gourmet food, nonstop VIP parties. It was called Fyre Festival. And get this, in just 48 hours, tickets, some costing up to $250,000, were completely sold out. But when people actually got there, oh boy. There were no villas, no supermodels, no music. All they found were disaster relief tents and, yes, sad-looking cheese sandwiches. The dream that was sold to them by influencers had completely collapsed into a total nightmare. Yeah, the Fyre Festival disaster was way more than just a party gone wrong. It basically ripped the filter clean off a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it forced all of us to start asking some really tough questions about the illusion of authenticity and the dark side of influence. So let's start right there with the Fyre Festival promise, because it is the perfect, and I mean perfect, example of just how powerful and how deceptive influencer marketing can really be. And the stakes here are absolutely enormous. We're not just talking about a few sponsored posts on Instagram. The global influencer marketing industry was valued at over $21 billion in 2023. So the big question is, how on earth did it get so big so fast? Well, to understand that, we've got to look at the rise of something really key: relatability. We need to trace the journey from those old school ads to the personal connection that really defines this entire industry. And wow, did it happen fast. YouTube launches in 2005, Instagram in 2010, and suddenly, totally ordinary people could build these massive audiences. By 2014, regulators were just trying to play catch-up. And then in 2016, Instagram's algorithm basically poured gasoline on the whole fire. You see, this was a fundamental shift in how things were sold to us. Old school ads, they were polished, distant, celebrity-driven. But influencer marketing, that felt intimate. It felt personal. It was sold by people who seemed, for all intents and purposes, just like us. And this is the secret sauce. This is why it worked so incredibly well. A Nielsen study back in 2016 found that a staggering 92% of people trust recommendations from other individuals over brands. 92%? All of a sudden, trust wasn't just a feeling, it was the most valuable commodity on the market. But you know how it goes. That kind of explosive growth almost always comes with a price, which brings us to the cracks in the filter, the point where that perfect, curated image of the industry really started to fall apart. And the problems grew just as fast as the industry itself. You had brands being sold fake followers and fake engagement. You had ads that were completely undisclosed. And that trust we just talked about, it was being systematically bought and sold, which, you guessed it, led to real-world disasters just like Fyre Festival. Seriously, brands were pouring millions of dollars into what were essentially hollow accounts. Investigations found that tons of these so-called popular accounts were just padded with bots and fake followers. They were literally paying for an audience that didn't even exist. All of this was bound to lead somewhere, and it did. It led to a billion-dollar reckoning, where the consequences finally got too big to ignore, moving from our social media feeds straight into federal courtrooms. And if you're looking for the one single event that signaled this massive shift, this is it. This was a massive wake-up call for the entire industry, and it involved one of the most famous people on the entire planet. $1.26 million. That is the massive amount Kim Kardashian agreed to pay to settle charges with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission in 2022. It was a crystal clear signal that the Wild West days of influencer marketing were coming to an end. So what'd she do wrong? The SEC said it was for touting a crypto security without disclosing the payment she received. In plain English, she was paid $250,000 for one post, and her followers had absolutely no idea it was a paid ad for a very risky financial asset. And the consequences went way beyond just financial penalties. We saw a COVID-19 infodemic fueled by misinformation spreading online. We've seen growing evidence of harm to teenage mental health and body image. And you know what? Even the creators themselves started facing widespread burnout and exhaustion. So, after all that, where does that leave us today? Well, in our final section, let's take a look at authenticity's new face and explore how the industry has adapted and what the future might actually hold.
While the industry has definitely responded, we're seeing stricter regulations from agencies like the FTC. We've got those built-in paid partnership labels that are now pretty standard. And of course, new platforms like TikTok have come along and completely changed the game all over again.
And just when you think you've seen it all, things are getting even stranger. Meet the virtual influencer. This is a completely computer-generated character, like Lil Miquela, who has millions of followers and partners with major brands, despite not actually being a real person. She doesn't exist. Which really brings us to a chilling, but absolutely essential takeaway from all this. Not everything that looks authentic is. That line between what's real and what's just a performance has never, ever been blurrier. So the next time you're scrolling through your feed and you see a post from someone you trust, someone who really feels like a friend, telling you about a product they genuinely love, I want you to just pause for a second and ask yourself one simple question. Is this a recommendation or is it a transaction?